There is a ton of jargon that gets thrown around on the putting green. And so in this edition of the Golf Dictionary, I'm going to break down a lot of the jargon around putters and putting. A lot of the terms regarding putters and putting are interconnected, but as you can see down in the timestamps below, I've broken these out into categories just to try to keep this a little bit more organized. I'm going to start with one of the most important terms in putting, and that is toe hang. So here I have a putter that has about 45 degrees of toe hang. Toe hang is what the putter does when you're holding the shaft parallel to the ground and letting that head just point wherever it wants. So if we imagine that this is 0, this putter again has about 45 degrees of toe hang. This would be 0 degrees. This would be 90 degrees. You can also think about it in terms of a clock face. Some people will refer to this as a 430 toe hang. That's of course if you're looking at it from my perspective. That would make this 3 o'clock and then this 6 o'clock. Now this putter we would call face balanced because it has that 0 degrees of toe hang or 3 o'clock toe hang. The reason toe hang is such a big deal is that it is thought to be a major factor in what putter you should choose. So a face balanced putter is going to be better for people who want to putt more straight back, straight through. A putter with a lot of toe hang, this putter for example, is close to that 6 o'clock toe hang. This is the putter I have that is for people with the most arc to their stroke. While we're talking about toe hang, it's also important to talk about zero torque. Now, zero torque putters may get their whole own video at some point, but zero torque putters actually go toe up. So this is the toe of the putter. It's facing the whole wrong direction. It might look like a 6 o'clock toe hang, but it's actually a noon toe hang, I suppose, or noon toe orientation. The face is in the other direction. Zero torque putters are interesting because they put the shaft right into the center of gravity of the head. You can see that the way Lab does that is by putting the shaft directly into the center of the head. We also have other approaches like PXG, who uses this S hosel, which is a little bit unorthodox but looks a lot more normal. That also creates that same toe up performance. Now, zero torque putters are not old enough yet where we've developed a lot of kind of common wisdom around them, but there is a belief that they might work for any type of player because they keep the putter face square to your path regardless of what that path looks like. Now I referenced your stroke shape a moment ago, so let's do stroke arc as our next term, our next category of terms. Your stroke arc is just the shape of the stroke that you make while you are putting. Many golfers are familiar with the training aid, the putting arc, where you put the putter on that arc and it's supposed to teach you the perfect way to putt. Your putting arc is really just related to your posture. If you are very bent over, think Michelle Wie at a certain point in her career where she was completely parallel to the ground with her back, that would be a perfect straight back, straight through setup. Because her spine is parallel to the ground, her putter is going to go straight back, straight through. There's another term you're going to hear a lot, straight back, straight through, for people who want to make a very straight path through the ball. We also have paths that are heavily arcing. If you are more upright in your posture, that putter is going to move more around your body and around the ball, around your target line. Neither of these is necessarily better than the other. There are certainly philosophies that say you should be one way or another. In my opinion, I think you should just find a stroke that is repeatable and that you're not manufacturing. If you're standing very upright, you probably don't want to try to manufacture a straight back, straight through path. Similarly, if you get very bent over the ball, you don't want to manufacture a heavily arcing path. Next, let's talk about putter necks, because putter necks also factor into toe hang and stroke shape and picking the right putter. This is probably the most common neck type. This is the most common type of putter. It's an answer style putter. This is a plumber's neck, where you see it's got some offset. That shaft is here and the putter is set back a little ways from it. This is a standard plumber's neck. There are also very long plumber's necks. There are also short plumber's necks. Anytime that shaft is on a whole different plane than the club face, that's a plumber's neck. Another very common neck type is the double bend, which you can see here. Double bend putters will create face balance and are generally seen on mallets, bigger putters. This is a traditional sized mallet, fairly small. Again, this would be another example of a traditional mallet. And then that contrasts with a blade. Three other neck types we can mention before we move on. This would be a flow neck. There's not a hard right angle like in the plumber's neck. There's just a soft curve. So that's going to create generally half a shaft of offset. Flow necks will generally have a little more toe hang than plumber's necks or certainly than double bend shafts. There are also center shafted putters. I'm going to have to put an example here because I don't have any center shafted putters in my collection at this time. Connected to the flow neck, this is a slant neck. You can see it's just a more angular version of that flow neck. Slant neck and flow neck are pretty closely connected. We might be splitting hairs a little bit there, but those are two different terms you will see used when discussing putter necks. Next, let's talk about alignment aids. We'll start with one of the ones that I like best, what Tiger's famous for, which is the sight dot. That's just a dot right on the top line of the putter there where you want to strike the ball. Hopefully that dot is aligned with the center of gravity, the sweet spot. We'll talk about that in a second. But that is one type. You can also have putters that are naked or free of any sight line. This Byron Morgan has no line, no dot, no anything. And then of course you have your sight lines. So this putter has a line down the flange. You can also have a top line sight line. You could have that in conjunction with the flange line. But any line that is parallel to your target line, that's going to be called a sight line. Some manufacturers also have proprietary alignment techniques or alignment aids. This is the Versa alignment aid from Odyssey. You can see the alternating colors here. In this case, on this giraffe beam, it's copper and white. Sometimes it's blue and white or black and white. But those alternating colors are something they use to try to promote alignment. Other manufacturers will use big blocks of color as well. So while sight lines and sight dots are far and away the most common, there are other things out there as well. A couple other terms I'd like to cover that don't necessarily fit in any given category. One is a sound slot or beached. Fun fact, for all the putters I've ever owned, I've never owned a sound slot or beached putter. Beached is technically a Scotty Cameron term. A sound slot is the generic term. All a sound slot is a slot that is cut through the sole of the putter. Sometimes it's cut through the flange, sometimes it's cut into the face, and it's done to enhance the sound of impact so you can have a little more feedback. It's going to generally be louder, it's going to have a little more pop or click to it, but some players like that additional sound. Another term that's very important to understand, though not unique to putters, is sweet spot or center of gravity. Every putter has a spot in that across that face where it feels best, where you're going to get the most ball speed, you can get the purest performance. But in a putter, it's not always aligned with the center of the face or the alignment aid. And that's really important to understand, particularly on older putters, particularly on more traditionally shaped putters. You may see that sweet spot slightly toward the heel. So the sight line or the sight dot is telling you to hit it here, but your feel is telling you to hit it a little bit in toward the heel. Another term that's not unique to putters but gets used a lot in this space is multi-material construction. All that means is that they're using different types of metals to make that putter. That could be as simple as using aluminum to make the head and then having the weights made out of stainless steel or tungsten or something heavier. Or it could be that the face is one material, the body of the putter is another. Most of the putter is one thing, but they put heavier materials far away from the face and on the edges to promote more stability. There are lots of reasons to use multi-material construction, and generally you're going to find multi-material construction in putters that are bigger and more forgiving. The last thing I want to do is run through a few common putter head shapes so you know what people are talking about when they say, for example, an answer style putter is this. Scotty Cameron calls this a Newport style putter, and because of his prominence in the industry, that term gets thrown around as well. I prefer the term answer because that's what Ping used, and Ping is the company that originally created this style head. Shifting to something a lot more modern, there is the Spider style head. Now, TaylorMade created the Spider about 20 years ago, but since then, everybody has ripped that off. Not everybody, but a lot of companies have ripped that off to make putters that are kind of spaceship shaped with the weights back in the far corners for really high MOI, a lot of stability, a lot of forgiveness in that Spider head shape. Another modern classic is the Fang or number 7 style. This is something Odyssey popularized. They call it the 7. A lot of people will call it a Fang. Fang, of course, because it's got those long prongs in the back that make it look like a vampire's teeth. Going all the way back for our last two, the 8802 style is one of the most classic putters, but it's one we don't see much anymore. This is a heel shafted blade, virtually no forgiveness in this. It's built for somebody with a lot of arc in their stroke, but if you go back and look at some of the classic players, Bobby Jones and Arnold Palmer and Ben Hogan and all players of those different eras, a lot of them were using putters of this style. The last style of putter I'm going to mention here is one you're probably not seeing a lot on the shelves, but you will see a lot at mini golf, and that is the Bullseye. This is the putter that's been in my collection the longest, the oldest putter I own. This is just another one of those classic styles that you'll see if you watch classic golf footage, but one that, again, we don't see a lot anymore. It's got 6 o'clock toe hang. Most people are moving toward something with less, and there's almost no forgiveness in this model. I hope that's helped you to understand a couple of the terms that you hear thrown around a lot in the putting world. If there are more terms you'd like defined, please throw them in the comments down below. I'll add them to a future video, or I'll just define them right there in the comments for you. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please subscribe, like, rate, review, recommend it to your friends. All that really helps the channel, and it will keep you up to date on my latest content. Thanks for watching.